How's it going, everyone? Data here with a quick guide for you on how to make your roster salary cap compliant on NHL 25. Now that EA has put out the first roster update of NHL 25 dated to October 15th, we can go through the roster and make the necessary adjustments so that the AI doesn't mess up the league when you start a franchise mode save file. So to make those changes, you can follow along with the steps that I'll show you in this video. Download the custom roster that I shared on PlayStation 5 that I'll get to in a moment. Or what I would recommend most is keep an eye on the link that will be in the description for my annual article over at PuckPedia. This is now the 4th year that I write for PuckPedia. A big thank you to them. And the article will be updated as the season goes on. So as teams make more moves in the real world, your virtual world rosters will continue to need to be adjusted, and the article will be updated when necessary. I won't always put out a video on the channel here every time that there's a roster update, but you can always stay updated with that link in the description once it's up, or download my latest rosters on PlayStation 5. So we may as well start with how to download my custom roster if you're on the PlayStation 5. You'll go ahead and scroll to More on NHL 25's home screen and down to Roster Sharing. Click on Go to Hub. Then from there, you'll click on Download Community Files. And then from there, probably the easiest way to find the file would be to press square here on PlayStation and go to Search File. So I go ahead and type in the word data, and I get, there you go, my two rosters, Data Cap Compliant and Data Franchise V1. Right now it's only one download, so it'd be easy to find all the way at the back if you go on page 3. But by the time you're watching this, I have no idea how many downloads it would have, so I don't know where it would be on all the pages of the roster sharing on PlayStation 5. So going to search file and typing in data would probably be the easiest way. You can also search for creator, Data 782 of course being there. And I have my two rosters. So Data Cap Compliant is what you're looking for if you just want the EA rosters as of October 15th with cap compliancy added. Data Franchise V1 will be a separate video that I make. I'll bring you through my custom roster. That's with prospects being added, overalls around the league being tweaked, and stuff like that. But just EA rosters with cap compliance, Data Cap Compliant. Click on that, download file. I'm sorry to pump my numbers up. And you can go ahead and click Set Downloaded File as Active Roster. If you want to then double check that it is your active roster, you'll back out all the way back to the main screen here on NHL 25, go back to More, Rosters, then click on Active Roster, and make sure the check mark is on the roster that you want, Data Cap Compliant, there it is, beautiful. So now I'll go ahead and walk you through the changes that I made, explain the rationale behind it, and show you how you can do it as well if you want to do it for your own rosters on NHL 25. Again, NHL 25, go to the More tab, go down to Rosters, then scroll to Edit Player. Then you'll select on the National Hockey League, and it brings you to the Anaheim Ducks right away. So for the majority of the teams in the NHL, no changes were necessary. They're not under, they're not over the cap, there's not really any issues. But then the question you might be asking is, why do I care about salary cap compliance? Why are we making any changes in the first place? Well, my dear friend, let me explain that to you. For example, the Colorado Avalanche, they currently have, let's say, Gabriel Landeskog on LTIR. Just that right there is $7 million. But the game does not know how to reconcile that. So instead of having the team go over by $7 million or by just erasing Gabriel Landeskog, it will reduce the salary cap hit of every player by whatever, 350,000, 450,000, whatever it might be. So instead of the Avalanche having to deal with 7 years of Nathan MacKinnon at 12.6, they now get him for 7 years at 12.07. Cale Makar, 3 years at 8.65, whatever it might be. Devon Toews at 7 years at 6.825. So it becomes easier for the Avalanche to stay as a dynasty, and just the overall realism kind of gets shattered a little bit for these long 5, 6, 7 year contracts that are like at 500,000 less than what they should be. So to keep teams from getting an unfair advantage, it's not a perfect system, but I'll take the contracts of 1 or 2 expiring contracts and I'll reduce or increase those salaries as opposed to the entire team being affected. So as you can see here in Colorado, it's Mikko Rantanen. He should be making 9.25, but he's making 6. We'll get to that in a moment. So that's why I find it important to do those changes if you want to have a long-term franchise mode, and here's how you do them. So right off the bat, Anaheim, Boston, Buffalo, Calgary, Carolina, Chicago. It's actually Colorado that's number 1. That is your first change. So in Colorado, as I just said, your number 1 change will be to reduce Mikko Rantanen's salary from $9.25 million down to $6 million. Now, in theory, if you really want to keep Rantanen at 9.25, you could reduce Jonathan Drouin down to league minimum. You could reduce Shillington down to league minimum, save $300K there. O'Connor down to league minimum. You can go over to Georgiev and reduce him down to league minimum. There's probably another way. Yeah, I think that would just get you in there. But I find it's better to just minimize the impact to one player. Do it as you like, absolutely. But just keep in mind, Colorado is a team that has to see some sort of change, or else there won't be cap compliance. Next up, over to Columbus, they are under the salary cap, so any expiring contract can be given about 1.75 million. That can be added onto the contract. So for me, I went ahead and added that to Sean Corrali's contract from 2.5 million to 4.25 million. So 1.75 is added. You could do it for Danforth, you could do it for Johnson, no problem. I just thought Corrali, he's an alternate captain, he's probably going to be there for the whole season. Add it to his contract. So Sean Corrali, I added 1.75 to his. After that, Dallas, Detroit, Edmonton, Florida, LA, Minnesota, nothing. The Montreal Canadiens didn't change anything with them salary-wise, but what you'll notice is that there are a few players in the league that are 70 overall. I'll go into the player movement and show you in a second. I already did it, so I can't show you right now. But there are some players who are basically, their careers are over, they're on LTIR, but they're not retired just yet. The Carey Prices, the Shea Webbers of the world. So for the Montreal Canadiens, Carey Price would be one of those players. His 10.5 million is not there, but he's still a body at 70 overall at 750K. So what I do is I just drop him to free agency and then transfer him to an international team because, very sad to say, his career is over. So that's not a change for salary cap per se, but it does clean up the organization a little bit. After that, Nashville, Devils, Islanders, nothing for them. New York Rangers, just a very small change for the Rangers. I went ahead and just reduced Ryan Lindgren's contract from 4.5 million down to 4.25 million. You could do it for Lafreniere, you could do it for Miller, but I thought I don't really want to do it for an RFA, better for a UFA because maybe that changes contract demands, so I prefer to do it for UFAs. Ryan Lindgren from 4.5 down to 4.25. After that, on to Ottawa, no changes there. Philadelphia, no cap changes required, but you'll want to drop or transfer Ryan Ellis from the team. Pittsburgh, San Jose, Seattle, St. Louis, Tampa Bay, Toronto, all good to go. Utah, you'll want to drop or transfer Shea Weber. Vancouver, good to go. Vegas, you'll want to drop or transfer Robin Lehner. Washington, one change here. You'll want to reduce the salary. I went and did it for Andrew Mangiapane. Reduce his salary from 5.8 million down to 4.25 million. That's the only change for Washington. Winnipeg, it's, no changes for them either because, now Brian Little's retired and we're good to go. That's the changes you need to make for the NHL. Now, if you were to drop a player to free agency, how do you do that? How do you transfer a player? Let me go ahead and walk you through that now. From the same screen you were just at for rosters, you'll back out to the main screen NHL 25, go to more, go to rosters. You'll scroll over to player movement. From player movement, there's a couple things you can do. Number one, you can drop a player from an NHL roster to the free agency pool. So let's say I was doing it with Mason McTavish, I have him right here, why not? I select him with square, and then I drop him with triangle, drop to free agency. Is he in free agency now? Well, let me check. With L2, NHL, I scroll all the way down to free agents. In free agents, there he is, Mason McTavish. If I now want to totally remove him from the game, because if he's a free agent, another team will sign him. If I want to totally remove him, again, I'll select him, pressing square, and then on the right side of the screen, instead of NHL, I'll go to an international team, any international team. I usually send everybody to Austria, and I'll press X, finish, and he gets transferred. So there you go, he's now in Austria, he's out of the game, not in the NHL, won't be in franchise mode, and there you have it. If I want to send him back, I press the exact same buttons. I go back, free agent, then I'll put him here, then I'll go to the NHL, Anaheim Ducks on this side, and now he's back in Anaheim. Great. So from the free agent pool, if you dropped players, you can then transfer them, and that's what I did. As you'll see on the Austrian team that we just looked at, there's Ryan Ellis, there's Carey Price, there's Nicholas Backstrom, there's Shea Weber, and also in free agency, you'll have Carter Hart. Carter Hart will not be back in the NHL anytime soon, if ever, so I went ahead and transferred him out already. And that is everything that you need to know for cap compliance as of the first EA roster update dated to October 15th of 2024. Leave a like if this was helpful for you, join our Discord server, which is linked in the description to join the franchise mode community, and of course, subscribe to not miss out on much more NHL 25 content to come, which will include an overview of my custom roster, career simulations, and of course, our franchise mode series, which will need you, the assistant general managers. A big thank you as always to PuckPedia, and a big thank you to you for watching. I look forward to seeing you once again in the next one.